Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the Amador County Unified School District meeting to order. As of right now, 4 of our board members are here. Do we have any public comment on closed session? I don't think so. Okay, with that, we are going to go ahead and go into closed session, and we will return at 6:30.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh my, yes, this morning I turn around, I'm in the MPR, and I'm going to say good morning to the and I open the door and I look to my right and I see, I don't even know who's throwing it, I think it was a paper. So he's throwing that something in basketball and I look and I'm like, and it just sticks, and then I look and I'm like, hey guys, okay, I'm glad you're here. It's like just my ball and now my pencil case, so it's like really such a dork, bro. Oh my goodness, dude. And his little buddy's right there. I was like, just please be careful. I don't want Garrett to come in here and yell at you because you're jumping off the stage. His buddy was like trying to jump off the stage to like throw it more. Did they get it out? It was adorable. Looking at it from like the back, I'm like, oh, that's cause and effect. Like, you know, your basketball stuff. I'm gonna throw it. No, but yeah, no, it was one of those. It was like one of the little drops of sugar. Yeah. I think that's good advice. It was something else. He's like, I'm like, it's fine. I don't, like, do what you gotta do to get it out, but. Yeah, no, it was fine. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad he enjoyed it. I'm glad he got stuff back. Because be careful not to let it. Yeah. Oh, well, we can. And I love it.
We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Shane, I missed you last night. I wanted to make sure I caught up to you. Next time I'm going to show me how to do that so I can also help so you don't have to think so that.
And it says see the red dot? This is live. Then
Okay, we are going to go ahead and reconvene to open session. We do not have anything to report out from closed session. Are there any deletions or corrections to the agenda?
Yeah, one correction under next meeting, which will be announced at the end of this meeting. We will still be meeting on the regularly scheduled time and date of October 8th with closed session at 5:30, open session starting at 6:30. However, this building is not available. We have secured the City of Jackson Civic Center on Broadway Street, also known as where the police station is on the corner of Highway 88 and 49. So that will be same date, same time, just different location for the October 8th board meeting.
Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go ahead and do the swearing in of our new student board member, and afterward we will have a short little reception with some cookies and such. We are excited to have Claire join us in this important capacity. At this time, we will do the official swearing in. Okay. Go ahead and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Claire Kay,
I, Claire Kay,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental preservation or evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon of which I am about to enter.
As a student board member of the Amador County Unified School District,
As a student board member of the Amador County Unified School District,
I will represent the students of this district to the best of my ability.
I will represent the school district to the best of my abilities.
I will work to improve our schools,
I will work to improve our schools,
to promote student engagement,
to promote student engagement,
and to ensure that every student's voice is heard.
and to ensure that every student's voice is heard.
Congratulations, Claire. You're now officially an Amador County Unified School District student board member. You're all done. Before we move on with our meeting, I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of having a student representation on our board. Claire, your role as a student board member is unique and valuable. You will have the opportunity to provide a perspective that is essential to the decisions we make. We encourage you to speak up, ask questions, and advocate for what you believe will benefit your fellow students. Once again, welcome, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you, everyone, for being here for this important moment. We officially welcome Claire to the Amador County Unified School District Board. We are going to go ahead and have a quick reception. There's cookies and stuff back here. Okay, go ahead. We're good? Okay. Okay, tonight we do have some presentation and recognitions. We do have challenge coins. So first up with Pine Grove Elementary is Mr. Hawley.
Good evening, board members, President Parker, Superintendent Critchfield, cabinet members, and community members and fellow staff. I would like to thank you all for the opportunity to spotlight two of my Pine Grove STEM School's extraordinary staff members with challenge coins. Come on up, Sarah. The first member of our staff that I would like to recognize is one of our newest members, Sarah McQuarrie. She joined our staff at the beginning of the school year as our cook, and she has completely transformed our food program. I've received numerous compliments and comments from students and staff about how good the meals are tasting this year, and her willingness to be flexible has been a pleasure to work with. Thank you, Sarah, for being part of the Pine Grove family. The second staff member that I would like to recognize is Mackenzie Fisher. Mackenzie joined our team last year and jumped in enthusiastically after returning from maternity leave. As everyone knows, being a new parent is extremely challenging, but the new addition to her family's household did not slow down Mackenzie's desire to be the best teacher possible for her students. Her compassion, patience, and caring for the students is unwavering, and her desire to improve herself makes her a pleasure to work with. Thank you, Mackenzie, for being part of this Pine Grove STEM family. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Mr. Hawley. Don't forget your picture. I know it's your favorite. Okay. Next up, we have Sutter Creek Elementary and Primary with Mrs. Peters.
All right, good evening. Board members, Mr. Critchfield, and Cabinet, thank you for having me this evening. I am honored to recognize a group of Sutter Creek Elementary employees who truly go above and beyond for our school community. So I would like to recognize, and as I call your name, please come up, Kimmy Bell, office clerk. Gianna Finarelli, second grade teacher. Maura Jorgensen, kindergarten teacher. Carla Wagner, mild mod special ed teacher. And Piper Moore, who is a special education aide. In a time when our work can be especially challenging, balancing limited resources, high expectations, and the many needs of our students, these individuals continue to show up with dedication, heart, and an unwavering commitment to doing what's best for our kids. Each of them demonstrates daily what it means to be part of a team that doesn't give up, even when circumstances are tough. They give their time, their energy, and their care to ensure students feel supported, safe, and successful. These individuals consistently go above and beyond to provide the needed support our students need to thrive. By presenting them with a challenge coin, I want to acknowledge not just their hard work, but also their resilience and their impact. They make a positive impact by fostering a safe, supportive learning environment and giving students the tools and encouragement they need to succeed. Their dedication helps students grow academically, socially, and emotionally. The work they and all of our staff do is fundamental to the success of our students. Without employees like them, we cannot create the type of environment our children deserve. So I am truly grateful to have them as part of our Sutter Creek Wolverine team. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget your picture. Okay, next up, we do have our employee organization. So we have Miss Jensen with ACTA.
Hi, hello. Good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Critchfield, cabinet, colleagues, and community members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you on behalf of the Amador County Teachers Association, ACTA. I hear you, Mr. Farrar, when you say you are concerned about the us versus them delivery, and I wish that was not the case, but I want to address last night's accounting presentation. I don't know what you asked for, but I know what I hoped for and what I would have asked for. I would have asked for an up-to-date, current, thorough accounting with every cent accounted for. I would have asked for an accounting of where our finances are at this moment and how the bargaining unit's proposals affect that up-to-date accounting, so that in today's closed session, I could have had an idea of what areas should be cut in order to resolve this healthcare crisis in a way that ensured that employees had money in their pockets at the end of the month and receive healthcare benefits that ensure their safety. The data and information you received last night was based on May figures, and if I were making the request for an up-to-date accounting, I would have expected it to be current, thorough, and have every penny accounted for. From the comments in the room, some audience members expected that too. I believe everyone in this room and in this community wants the same thing. I believe we want students in Amador County schools to thrive and meet their potentials. I believe we want to keep educators and staff serving Amador County schools. I believe we want affordable health care for all. I struggle with how to say this, but by not giving you the full current picture, you could be sitting in the bargaining table with us, because this is what we receive all the time. We do so much homework to try to find the real numbers. I'm saying that you and the employees of Amador County who meet at the bargaining table to resolve this and other issues, sorry about that, are not hearing the whole story. I'm asking you to expect to be given the respect your position requires. When at the end of the thank you, go ahead. When at the end of the presentation, a board member said, "I don't know what just happened," that board member is expressing the same language that is stated in caucus during negotiations. I want you to hear that this is a big thing, that you have the power here, and that you have the power to ask for more, and you have the right to ask for more. We are counting on you. Every employee in this district is counting on you to ask for more.
Okay, Mr. Baird? Or Ms. Bell?
I won the coin toss this evening, so I'm going to speak for CSA 239. Good evening, Cabinet, trustees, community. Tonight, excuse me, I think I talked too much last night. Okay, tonight the public has a rare opportunity to make comments or ask questions about a board item after its presentation. I have a few comments after last night's clear as mud budget report. First, I must apologize to my amazing English teachers as they taught me to speak correctly, but folks, the math ain't mathin'. I, as a site administrative assistant, may have somewhat of an inside track, but still it is quite easy for me to generate a report in Escape that details a site budget by line item. For example, I can tell you that Ione Junior High, with 396 students, has a budget allocation of $2,500 for the district warehouse. Let me be clear about this. That means we have $2,500 for copy, paper, and ink for the entire school year. A little bit lower than some of the numbers that were presented last night. I am in possession of this knowledge despite not making 6 figures a year. How can the board identify where they can cut? How can the board identify where they can cut when they only have vague, lumped together sums? Why are services, which were explained last night as utilities at Ione Junior High, over $351,000, when Ione Elementary and Jackson Junior are each $194,000? If it is our pool, then we need to close it permanently. I'd like to know how much we have spent on rental fences alone over the last 10 years, as Argonaut has had one since my oldest, who is now 32, was a freshman. or the fence at Ione Elementary for the former Watson property turned parking lot. I know that at my site, we had a rented fence surrounding a play structure for many years. Why, when Joe Cruz was directed to get roof cleats installed on district roofs 1.5 to 2 years ago, do we still not have them and are instead contracting out to 2 separate HVAC companies? While I know that Robert has never worked at a site, there were many inaccuracies presented last night. In reference to the junior high's overtime/extra time, he stated that the majority was to pay for coaches. Historically, we do not pay coaches at this level. They are volunteers. The majority of our funds go towards teachers attending things like site leadership meetings or covering classes on their prep due to a lack of permanent staff or substitutes. He also spoke about curriculum being a district expense, but what he didn't tell you was that it is a site expense when, for example, an English teacher requests a class set of books for a novel study. We need the fine details, not the lump sums, to move forward. Board, please listen to your speakers as they are digging deep to come up with the questions that you should be asking. I heard from a staff member at Amador High last night that the solar panels at their site are not even operational. Is this true? And if so, why? We haven't even paid them off. I heard from one of my bargaining unit members yesterday that she has opted out of the medical but taken vision and dental since 2024. And despite being far below the medical cap, she was charged monthly. The district owes her back pay. In 2023, 2024, and again in the 24-25 school year, there were numerous payroll mistakes. All 3 of these situations resulted in your employees losing money through no fault of their own. Today, a coworker of mine received an email from the business office asking her to resubmit the attestation form for opting out of medical coverage. Attached to the email was a sample. Unfortunately, it was another employee's form with their name and information on it. This is a HIPAA violation. This afternoon, after writing this letter, I was in receipt of an email from one of our unit members who was corresponding with the business office. The response from the business office included all of her financial information, her pay stubs. I am now in possession of all of her financial information. This is inexcusable. How do we trust that the numbers presented to you are accurate? We need to be making cuts right now to find the funds to offset the medical increases. I do not wish anyone to lose their job, but confidential employees can be let go right now. And a good place to start would be the excess positions created during Tory's reign. In my bargaining unit alone, we have already had resignations due to the medical costs. You must act now. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items. I'm going to go ahead and read the blurb. A person wishing to be heard by the board shall first be recognized by the president and shall then proceed to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on non-agenda items. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. President may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. We have a ton of comment cards here. We do have quite a few items on the agenda, so we are going to also do last night. We are going to do 20 minutes of on the agenda, and then we have, or off the agenda, and then we also have on the agenda cards. So we're going to go in order for 20 minutes. Most of these, if not all of them, are all regarding the health insurance situation. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first speaker is Michael Garcia, and after him, we have Dale Flint.
Good evening, trustees, cabinet members, Superintendent Critchfield, everybody. Hi, guys. I'd like to share my perspective as both an educator, a parent, and a husband. I know this is kind of redundant, but you know what? I did the numbers, so whatever. When I signed up for my Platinum insurance plan, I sat down and calculated how the district's most recent proposal, September 5th, would affect my family's finances. And while I am no expert in the financial realm, these numbers were very close to what I believe will be my net pay. Again, I'm not a specialist, and I'm sure these numbers are not perfect, but I did try my best. It's a start, right, James? Currently, with my prep buyout, I take home $5,167 a month after insurance. It's roughly $36.91 an hour, a wage I believe is fair and reflective of the work I do in educating the students at Argonaut. Under the district's September 5th offer, however, my insurance costs would rise to $28.34 a month. That would reduce my take-home to just $2,333, or just close to 45% of my salary, or $16.66 an hour, even better. To put that in perspective, many of our own students entering the workforce will be earning more per hour than a teacher with over a decade in the culinary field. That's deeply concerning. To make the numbers real, my family pays $1,600 a month for rent. My groceries run around $250 to $400 a month. Gas for 2 cars is about $35 to $40 a week each car, and I have credit card payments that are around $650 a month. COVID sucked. At $2,300, $2,333 a month, I would fall short by over $500 every month, meaning I'd face impossible choices between paying bills and buying food. My wife also works full-time, but together it still wouldn't be enough, as I've not included the bills that she pays. I became hopeful when I received the prep buyout raise, believing I might finally be able to recover from the strain that COVID brought. Instead, this proposal feels like moving backward. I share these details not for sympathy, but to highlight how unsustainable this is for working educators. And I'll leave you with this. Therefore, dear friends, since you have been forewarned, be on your guard so that you may not be carried away by the error of the lawless and fall from your secure positions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dale Lisa Flint. I've worked for the Amador County Unified School District for over 20 years. I hold 2 credentials, one in English, one in art. I've taught English, journalism, drama, cinema studies, art, and enrichment. I've run award-winning drama programs at 2 schools, and my journalism class's newspaper reaches a subscriber base close to 20,000. I am invested in this community. I love my job, but I will not prostrate myself on the altar of incompetence. Mr. Critchfield, I believe you are the best superintendent we've ever had, admittedly not a high bar. This is why it was so incredibly disappointing that you were not here for the board meeting on August 27th. This was your first test of leadership, and you lost 100 aura points. I understand that it was a pre-planned trip, but if you are the mayor of a small town and that town is on fire, you listen to the people whose houses are burning. You don't plug generic platitudes into ChatGPT, hit send and call it good, hypothetically speaking, of course. You should have been here to see the people standing along the back wall and sitting on the floor, sweltering in the non-air-conditioned late summer heat, gathering the courage to address their remarks to your face, but you never gave them the chance. I'm sure you watched a replay, but that's not the same as looking into the eyes of your employees. You should have been here to see the pain in Mr. Goff's eyes, the passion in Mr. Dugan's, knowing that both of them would have flagged your email to employees as a violation of academic integrity. For goodness sake, hold yourself to a standard higher than a 7th grade English student. Speak with your own voice. Correct your own mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, the teacher in a classroom infested with fleas, the custodian washing urine off the walls in a junior high bathroom does not bear the responsibility for the insurance fiasco. There is so much shifting of blame, it's unconscionable. A surplus of cabinet members with 6-figure incomes are ultimately responsible for the financial health of this district. Do not ask overburdened sped teachers or part-time food service workers to double-check your math. And when, if not if, you post for our next human resources director, I recommend looking for someone who engenders employee trust. In other words, leave sussy baka out of the job description. I am not afraid to speak out. I understand my right to free speech and fear no retaliation. The district needs me more than I need it. And what worser harm could you do than quadruple my insurance premiums and then, like an abusive partner, tell me I was asking for it?
Okay, we have Kurt Moko.
I'll admit that's hard to follow. Good evening, board. Congratulations, students. I'm really glad to see you there. I'm proud of you. Mr. Critchfield, council. Good evening. I'd like to share a quick background on me. You don't know me that well. We'll get to know each other over the next few months. In my past, I served as the Recruiting and Retention Command Sergeant Major for the state of California. In 2004, during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, my colonel and I were responsible for achieving 10,000 enlistments per year. Anyone who was recruited during wartime knows that it is almost impossible. We quickly realized that if we could retain 6,000 soldiers per year and focus on enlisting the remaining 4,000, we might make our mission. This shift in strategy made me one of the best retention sergeant majors in the country. For years, I traveled the state, living out of a suitcase, eating in hotels, talking to soldiers, training their leaders. I learned one simple truth. When soldiers feel cared for, they are far more likely to re-enlist. Captain Obvious. Teachers and staff are no different. They may join for pay and benefits, those are essential, but they stay for the intangibles, strong peer relationships, strong leadership, and a sense of belonging and purpose. With that in mind, Mr. Critchfield, I have 2 recommendations for you. I think we've talked about this already. Personally lead negotiations. You must personally lead contract negotiations. Your current bargaining representatives talk down to people and frankly poorly represents this district. You, on the other hand, treat people with courtesy and genuine listen to their position. You are the only one who can lead this district out of this crisis. Number 2, create and execute a retention plan. It's never too early to talk about retaining the right people. The district cannot hire enough trained, qualified teachers and staff in a normal year, and certainly not after this episode of How the District Turns. You cannot simply hope that my peers will stay even if a deal is reached. Normally, retention falls under HR, but your HR director has not demonstrated the capability or care this challenge demands. I ask you, what is an acceptable loss of teachers and staff for this year? Perhaps a better question is, how can you and your assistant superintendents best meet your retention goals? Please do not leave employee retention to chance. Hold town halls, spend more than an hour at each site, have lunch with us, communicate with us. Everyone wants a leader we can trust, one with vision, values, and compassion. I believe that you are that leader, and I urge you to act now. Thank you.
All right, Aubrey Gold is next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aubrey Gold, and I am a senior leadership representative at Argonaut High School. Today, I want to share with you my concerns about the healthcare crisis beginning to affect our campus. From a student's perspective, I have seen the immense stress our teachers have been under over the past few weeks, something a student should never have to experience at a place like school. At first, I wasn't sure of all the details, so I started asking questions. Now I understand more about the difficult changes our teachers and their families are forced to face. Unfortunately, these struggles have already begun to affect student culture and well-being at Argonaut. As a member of leadership, I can tell you firsthand that it has been a major challenge to plan and reinvent school events while our teachers are taking a stand by working to rule. To our amazing teachers, please know that we understand you, we support you, and we can never be frustrated with you for standing up for what is right. What frustrates us is the situation itself. As a senior, I constantly remind the freshmen, including my younger brother, that the 4 years of high school fly by and that they should cherish every moment. But how can freshmen like him and the students across our campuses truly build a positive and supportive high school experience if their teachers themselves are not being supported? The truth is, they can't. Teachers shape our education, our culture, and our lives every single day. If there is one thing you remember from my comment today, I hope that it is this. In leadership, we are taught that as a class, we succeed as a team and we fail as a team. Currently, instead of being united, few of us are succeeding, while most of us feel like we are being failed. It is time for our district and our community to step up and give our teachers the respect and resources they deserve. Because when teachers are supported, students thrive. When our teachers are healthy and secure, our schools become stronger. And if we claim to value education, then we must first value the educators who make it all possible. We are asking you directly, do what is right, invest in our teachers' health and well-being, because when you take care of them, you take care of us. Thank you.
Okay, we have Kirsten Reese.
Good evening. My name is Kirsten Reese, and I'm the senior class president at Argonaut High School. I am here tonight to share my perspective on the healthcare crisis that is affecting our schools and our community. Because of the debt our schools are facing and the lack of proper healthcare and resources, our teachers have had no choice but to scale back to working strictly within their job descriptions and contracted hours. This isn't their fault. In fact, I completely support them for standing up for what they deserve. But the reality is that the weight of this crisis is now reaching students. As a senior, this was supposed to be the year to celebrate traditions and school spirit, such as our lunchtime sallies, the homecoming rally, football games, and homecoming itself. Instead, many of these events are being reshaped or cut back. Students are trying to fill in the gaps to make it as close to normal as possible, but it's stressful and it changes the experience we've looked forward to for years. That's why something has to change. This crisis isn't just hurting our teachers, it's hurting students, families, and our whole community. Our schools cannot thrive while buried in debt. We need a solution, and we need to prioritize supporting our teachers. Because when teachers are cared for, the students are cared for too. This isn't just about today's challenges, it's about ensuring our schools remain strong for the generations of students who will walk these halls after us. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Nettie Brazil.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nettie Brazil, and I am Argonaut High School's ASP president. First, I would like to say that I'm in full support of all of our teachers. They've always worked hard to give us the best education as possible, and they've always, and I mean always, taught us to stand for what we believe in. That's exactly what they're doing right now with the work to rule. As students, we are starting to feel the effect, as some of my fellow friends have said. One of our biggest examples of this is the homecoming breakfast. This is one of the most loved traditions at Argonaut. Every year, our teachers cook for us, not because they have to, but because they want to give something to look forward to for the students. Many students, including me, it is a favorite memory. Losing teacher involvement in this event makes me worry that traditions and student participation will continue to fade away. Our teachers bring energy and positivity to our campuses, and especially our ASB events. They don't want to, but they choose to because they care about us. And now it's our turn to care about them. I don't want Argonaut to feel divided or robotic. I want it to stay the Mustang family. I was raised to believe that family supports family. So tonight, I ask you to please support our teachers. They will continue, so they can continue to focus on teaching and bring out the best in all of us. I cannot recall a time a teacher wasn't willing to help a student. Please help them. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Walter Flint.
Look at me. No, I don't mean point your eyes at my face. I don't mean process my image and file it away in a dark recess off in the far corner of your mind. I mean actually look at me. I've got a pretty good idea of what you're thinking. Another kid delivering a speech, another tedious, empty-handed lecture for 2 or 3 minutes, then time for the next guy to deliver his bit. A continuation of the sequence of faces. But the people on this floor, the people among us who have the courage to step up to this podium, are not, in fact, a sequence of faces. And the messages you're hearing are neither tedious nor empty-handed. They all mean something. I am serious about school. I study hard, I get decent grades. I make every decision of my high school career with a fail-forward mindset, and I have many friends who take the same approach to education as I do. Those formative, beautiful, torturous, eternal, fleeting years between childhood and maturity, collectively known as high school, form a bedrock for everyone my age, including me. The way we're taught in those years, the people we learn from, factor into the very foundations with which we will proceed to college, careers, and indeed the rest of our lives. That experience wouldn't be the same for me without Matt Goff to boost us forward forward while putting a smile on all our faces. Without Eric Lucas to teach us how to create a couple of explosions. Safe explosions, okay? They're safe explosions, usually. Usually. Without Cameron Dugan pushing me to become the best version of myself. Without Barney, Collier, Mogo, Tresari, Carson, Hubby, Garcia, every single person in this district who has empowered me. Those people aren't vacancies that can be filled under a pay cut or grand new plan. The financial strain of this administration's mistakes with the New Front program was a hole that you dug yourself into. Don't drag the people actually contributing to the lives of the students down into the hole with you and then try to use their faces as your ladder out. I don't... Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I don't want my last year in high school to be one filled with half-interested, half-paid long-term subs on a half-involved, dispirited campus because, by God, when I came to Argonaut, the first rally I attended was one where our ASB president told our class that being in these schools would be the best experience of our lives, and I intend to hold this district to that promise. For me, for my peers, for my 10-year-old sister as she makes her own progression through elementary school. She shouldn't have to worry about a teacher she loves having to leave her as a result of a crumbling administration projecting the consequences of its own inadequacies onto those it's supposed to protect. I know that you all are working hard, trying to make ends meet, but the people of this district aren't the ones to take the cut first. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Lisa Howe. Oh, Lisa Howe.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Good evening, board members, Mr. Critchfield and cabinet. I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I want to start with a story. In the fall of 2008, my oldest son, Stephen, walked onto Argonaut High School's campus as a freshman and into Ms. Himmel's science class. Throughout Stephen's high school career, he continued to take classes with Ms. Himmel. She prepared him well enough to skip an entire year of college. 5 years after earning his Bachelor of Science, Stephen is now Dr. Stephen Howe of Biomedical. I recently asked him to name 3 influential professors or teachers in his life, and without hesitation, Ms. Himmel was at the top of the list. Soon after Stephen graduated high school, Ms. Himmel left ACUSD. In the fall of 2015, my youngest son, Daniel, was a freshman on Argonaut's campus where there wasn't a chemistry teacher to be found. Daniel graduated as a senior without a chemistry teacher at Argonaut High School. This is not the first time ACUSD has had a difficult time hiring teachers. Active Special Education is suffering under the similar circumstances right now. Many fabulous active special education teachers have left, and we have struggled to fill those positions. Last night, the board asked us to work together. However, some teachers facing the current financial and healthcare hardships will not be able to continue working for ACUSD. Who then will the county hire to take the place of those forced to leave? When I exited my credential program with my AB plus 30, I was essentially clueless and worked to just keep my head above water. Today, I am a great teacher who has rubbed shoulders and exchanged ideas with great teachers before and next to me. Miss Urbani, Mary O'Neill, Kim Branson, Gretchen Johnson, Karen Reed, Lori Carson, Pamela Bennett, Emily Bowl, Jeannie Jensen, and Linda Rock. There are many fantastic first-year teachers, don't get me wrong, but the depth of knowledge needed to serve our students well is vast. If teachers leave, the deficit of experience will devastate our students. I want to reiterate, it is not that we do not want to work with you. We simply cannot. Thank you.
Okay, this is going to be our last comment card for this evening. After the 20 minutes, we have Alexandria Tolman.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Alexandria. I'm a second-year law student
at McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento. I'm here today because I'm enrolled in public education law this fall, and we have been asked to attend a school board meeting and give a presentation on a policy issue and present some alternatives to enact change. After reviewing data from both statewide and local sources, I chose to focus on an issue that's not controversial, yet highly impactful: chronic absenteeism. Post-COVID, Amador Unified, like many districts across California, has seen rising rates of chronic absenteeism. Statewide, nearly 1 in 5 students are chronically absent. Chronic absenteeism is generally defined as missing 10% or more of the school year for any reason, excused or unexcused. When students miss this much school, it may lead to academic struggles, falling behind classmates, and statistically put students at a higher risk for dropping out. California law makes clear that children between ages 6 and 18 must attend school full-time under Education Code Section 48200. Related provisions, including Education Code Sections 48260.5 and 48261, define truancy and require districts to notify parents or guardians when students accrue multiple unexcused absences. Specifically, a student is deemed truant after 3 unexcused absences or instances of tardiness over 30 minutes, and a written notification to parents is required at that point. However, while the law mandates notification at the truancy threshold, there is flexibility for districts to implement early intervention strategies before students hit the chronic absenteeism mark. The California Department of Education also emphasizes in its guidance that early communication with families is key to addressing attendance barriers. With that in mind, I propose to the board to consider an enhanced notification and intervention policy. In addition to the notification required at 3 unexcused absences, families could receive a secondary notice at 5% total absences. This midpoint notification would act as an early alert, allowing schools to proactively partner with families before students approach the 10% chronic absenteeism threshold. This could be paired with resources such as connections to school counselors, transportation assistance, or community support services. By adopting practices like these, Amador Unified could not only comply with the Education Code, but also take a proactive approach to prevention. This ensures that families are engaged earlier, attendance issues are addressed sooner, and students have a better chance at long-term academic success. Thank you for your time and commitment to ensuring every Amador student has the opportunity to succeed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on, get into the agenda. We're on item 13, the consent agenda. Oh, do we have one on consent? Okay, we do have a comment card on consent. We have Patricia and Jiha.
Good evening, everyone. So since I didn't get to speak during public comment, just a quick plug for Amador's Heart of Gold. I am the treasurer for that organization. We are for childhood cancer awareness. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. As many people know, we have multiple families in Amador County that have children with cancer. I have lots of documentation back there for what our purpose mission is. We're having lots of fundraisers right now. The shirt I'm wearing right now, we go gold on Thursdays for our childhood cancer survivors and the ones that are fighting and the ones who unfortunately have lost their fight. So I hope you check that out. Stuff in the back as well. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So 13.2 warrants. Just a question that I would hope the board would ask of the cabinet members. Is the school district exempt from the procurement guidelines from the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR Title II, Part 200, regarding requiring bids for purchases exceeding $10,000? Because it looks like only quotes from Elk Grove Ford were received for the 4 transit vans the district wanted to purchase. We had 2 meetings on. The first meeting, we passed it. The second one, we decided not to, given recent economic straits. Let's see, so I would like to know if they're exempt from that because we only had 1 set of quotes. And I also would like the board to follow up with the question I presented last night at the board meeting regarding the $98,994.14 to Folsom Lake Ford Fleet Center on May 22nd, 2025. Was this for the four Ford Transit vans the district was seeking to purchase? If so, why did this transaction occur before the item was ever presented to the board in the first instance on June 18th? If it's not for that, great. If it is, I would also like information on what the $74,335.30 to Roseville Chevrolet on June 26th was for, as my question at last night's board meeting was not clarified. So I hope the board does get that information. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this?
Mr. Norton, on the, I'm sorry, what do we call the financial report with all the different little?
The warrants.
The warrants, thank you. Can you just help me understand what item 60079-440 dated August 29th to Amador College Connect? Can you help me understand what that is for $78,000?
Yeah, that was an MOU with, I'll let actually Patty speak to that one.
That's part of our dual enrollment in CTE, the grant that Nikki Gravet oversees. So
Okay,
the
so
money
she-
comes in and then
It
the
comes in from
money
the grant,
goes
and then,
out.
of course, we have to follow the standard procedure for expensing it out.
Correct.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on here?
Well, since we were asked to, I'll ask you about that $98,000 purchase on 522. If you could just explain that so we can put that to rest.
Ken, we can't talk about that one because it's not on this agenda, but we can ask for that information given to us separately.
Fair enough, next meeting. No more questions.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Norton, Imagine Learning LLC, can you just explain what that is?
I can take that one as well. That's Edgenuity. It's an online platform that we use for our credit recovery.
And then what is the, since every board meeting we've been talking about insurance, the Alameda County Schools Insurance Group, what does that pertain to?
That is the premiums for dental and vision.
Okay. No more questions.
Would that be the same for the Kaiser Foundation Health Plan?
That's for Kaiser.
For Kaiser? Okay. Any other questions or comments on our consent agenda?
I had a question regarding 2 Bravo, the progressive letter. Could you explain what that is? I've read the letter, but it just doesn't make sense.
It is a letter of denying a request for essentially that we pay on a accident that occurred with the district. It is denying that claim. It was in the police report, we were not at fault. And so our insurance, our JPA, has said that we should not be paying for that. And we have to take it to the board to have the board officially deny it. But that is the reason behind it.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Is that from the accident that was in May at, was it like a workability van?
It was, I believe, from April, but it was the
In that-
workability van, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on consent? Okay, then we would just need a motion, and then just a reminder that our student board members don't vote on consent.
I move to approve item 13, the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, and the vote, Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, moving on. Item 14 is communications, and we do not have any, so we're going to move on to our action items. 15.1, Allied Benefit Systems LLC runout agreement. Mr. Norton.
Thank you, board. Let me pull my notes here real quick.
All right, board, for this action item, it includes a runout agreement with Allied Benefit Systems LLC. This agreement is part of our transition away from self-insured and contracts us with Allied Benefits Systems to process our claims for services rendered prior to September 30th, 2025, but then billed after October 1st, 2025. Essentially, this agreement would cover the period that we still have or liable for those claims that took place prior to September 30. The cost of that run out is a one-time administrative fee of $18,994.32. There are additional fees for additional services that may come up with there. Some of those include external and medical reviews, subrogation recovery fees, run out access fees, and even if we need customized reports. But the bulk of which is handled through the administrative costs there. We did want to add a caveat to that as part of the runout. And the agreement mentions a lot in terms of waivers, or sorry, an ACH or direct deposit for these claims. We will not be doing that. We'll be issuing basically a check for them to hold. The county does not allow us to do ACHs in that way, so we are kind of beholden to sending the funds out. We've kind of been doing that throughout this whole process to give them funds for our premiums in advance. And so that's why we're doing it that way. So I wanted to come up with that for you. I did want to note, too, that this is a necessary agreement for running out this self-insured process. And if we was not approved, that it would leave the district with no way to process these excess claims. And so we could potentially default with the carriers. Would impact anybody's reimbursement. So if they had medical services done, they would normally have it be processed and what have you. We need this service to get that taken care of. So I'm available for any questions you have, but at this time we recommend that the district approve.
Okay, so we're going to pay them $19,000 to just oversee the claims that are coming in.
Yes.
Then we're going to pay them an additional fee for bill review, medical record review, blah, blah, blah.
Correct.
And then on top of those fees, they're going to get another 25% of whatever they save us when they dispute a bill review or something like that. So they're going to double dip on that end.
Accordingly, yes.
Just wanted to clarify that. But it sounds like we have no choice.
We really don't. This is something that is necessary for this. We actually are working with Allied this whole time. This has been a part, they were a third-party administrator throughout this. So this is similar terms to what we've been doing.
Have we ever used a second party to double check the work they've done in terms of bill review and medical review? And
I can't guarantee that, no. I don't know is my answer. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions.
Questions, comments? We'll go. Peyton, any questions? Claire? Peter? Ken, any further questions? Shane?
Just to piggyback on what Ken asked, is there any, for schools, is there any kind of like a clearinghouse or any place that you can check Better Business Bureau for companies like this?
I'll have to look into this. This came recommended from our consultant at the time.
Okay. Well, I know that this is such a hot topic that if we can get as much information before we get into.
Sure, and this is why we're switching away from this. This is just a part of that process, unfortunately. They've been our third-party administrator. It'd be really hard for somebody to take that on at this point in time. They have the relationship with Anthem to finish it off.
No more questions, thank you.
James?
I appreciate you explaining the negative impacts if we don't do this. It definitely gives you a different perspective, but when I was reading through this, I was stuck on that 25%. Like, what is that 25% of? And it's based on whatever they want to hit us with?
I don't think so. It's not
Is there a
whatever
cap
you want to hit
to
us
that?
with. Not that I know of, but I don't know.
So it could be a hefty chunk of money.
I can't speak to that estimate.
Okay.
It says it's 25% of the savings.
Correct.
What are the savings?
And that I
don't
can't
know.
speak to.
Just dependent on the excess claims that they're running out?
I believe so.
Can I speak to that?
Please.
So the 25% they're talking about
Yeah.
is when we do a bill review that gets submitted to the captive. You can review it, and there's a set amount that's allowed for these services. And a lot of times they'll bill more than those services. So they might bill $200,000 for a back surgery when the allowed amount is $125,000. So there'd be a total saving of $75,000, and they would take 25% of that. They're supposed to make the checks and balances against the hospitals and the physicians.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. So we are doing all the billing ourselves because right now we're self-insured and we're switching away from that. This company is supposed to help us make sure that we're not getting overcharged on these things, and then they're taking a cut of the savings that they would be saving us to make sure we're not getting screwed over.
Correct, and that's what they should have been doing or have been doing for the last 2 years.
They have been doing it.
Yes.
So this is an active process. We've been working with this company already.
Okay. Okay. And this is the final one.
This should be this is it. We'll be done with self-insured.
So at that point, will our new provider handle this, or we still have to have middleman X?
No, CalPERS will be the one handling it with medical.
Okay. Any further questions or comment? Okay, then we would just need a motion for the vote.
Move to approve item 15.1, Allied Benefit Systems LLC runout agreement.
Second?
Okay, and then the vote. Peyton?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, moving on, we have 15.2, the K-12 SWP MOU final.
This before you is an MOU with the Chancellor's Office that allows us data sharing. There's no fiscal ramifications, except that this is part of what's required for us to seek the K-12 Strong Workforce Program grant again. So this is another $1 million grant that we are going out for. This is the grant that funds CTE currently. This is renewing, doing that grant cycle again. And in order to go out and apply for it, we have to have a data sharing agreement. You have to agree to let us share data with our students who are dually enrolled and in CTE.
Okay, questions? Peyton?
No.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
No.
Ken?
What is the data you're sharing?
If they're duly enrolled, we'll be sharing their student data and the grades and going across because we'll be sharing students with the college.
So they're transcripts?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Shane?
Nope.
James?
No questions.
I don't have any questions either on this one, so we would just need a motion for this.
I'll move to approve agenda item 2, K-12. What does the S stand for again? Strong Workforce. SWP MOU final.
Second.
Okay, and the vote, Peyton?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay. Item number 15.3 is our resolution 2526-4, intention to terminate certificated employees due to a reduction of particular kinds of services. We do have a comment card on this, so Patricia and Jeha, come on up first.
Good evening. So the proposed 3 positions to be eliminated are currently vacant. So removing these positions, 2 of which are teaching positions, wouldn't be an actual savings since the district is not currently paying those salaries. It would just be a reduction in the budgeted amount. I just want to make that very clear. It's not like we're going to be getting money or being able to spend any extra. I think more needs to be done to reduce the amount of admin staff, not only due to being fined or for having too high of an admin to staff ratio, as this is currently in compliance per the district at last night's meeting, but also because of the fiscal crisis we are in, both with the deficit of millions and the healthcare situation. I know this will be an uncomfortable suggestion, but I urge the board to have an action item on next meeting's agenda to reduce admin staffing. Another uncomfortable suggestion is an action item on next meeting's agenda to reduce the salaries of top paid admin staff in order to help reduce the deficit and allow the district to provide more to offset the healthcare insurance increase. I know that at the July 23rd board meeting, Trustee Marzano asked Mr. Critchfield for a breakdown of all admin staff and their respective salaries. We have yet to hear if this has been received. So without this information, I have taken the liberty to do research on Transparent California, which unfortunately is not the most accurate, and it only goes through 2023, to get a feel for how much the district office admin staff make. Luckily, the superintendent contract approved on 4/16 was provided on the board report, and it shows he makes $279,108.04. This comes from him having step one salary of $215,000 plus extra 15% for being county office superintendent. So his base salary is $247,250, almost $250,000. He gets a $1,408 master's stipend, a $500 monthly car allowance, $1,200 monthly employer contribution to retirement, and then the $10,050.04 annual employer contribution to healthcare. So, let's see. So this is how much he makes annually in salary and benefits, which is just outrageous, not just because of the financial situation that the district is in, but also being a public employee in this county. As the teachers have reiterated over and over, they are not in this profession to get or be rich, and the district office admin staff should not be looking to get rich or be rich in this profession either. A salary of $250,000 is rich. Even at my highest salary in the private sector, my husband and I never made jointly what the superintendent makes on his own. Whereas I understand that the importance of discussing items and having all the chips on the table, as Trustee Parker said last night, prior to making these decisions, so a situation like how consolidation was first approached is not repeated. Since the board only meets once a month, all these discussions with no action make a year go by before anything is actually done. Thank you.
We're going to get into the actual item with Dr. Palazuelos.
Good evening, Board President Parker. Would you like me to wait?
Just 1 second.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Parker, trustees. What we have here before you is resolution number ACUSD 2025-2026-04, intention to terminate certificate employees due to reduction of particular kinds of service. This would be to reduce or eliminate particular kinds of service of certificated staff for the 2026-2027 school year. By March 15th, we as an employer have the ability to do this. All the positions that are identified in this resolution are currently vacant. The total fiscal implications for these particular positions is a total of $322,395.21. It includes 2 elementary school teachers at an annual cost of $91,701.99, each for a combined total of $183,403.98, and 1 program specialist, BCBA, at an annual cost of $138,991.23. We're following the adopted and, more importantly, the accepted process for this. We're well before the March 15th deadline for it. And as I stated before, trustees, all of these positions are currently vacant. And with board action on this, the positions would not be filled this year, and with a layoff would not be filled next year.
Okay. We'll go ahead and go down the line with questions. Peyton?
No.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
I appreciate the clarification you just made at the very end that even though this states it's for the reduction in the 26-27 school year, the intention would be to save the funds this year as well and not to fill the positions. Mr. Norton, doesn't the way that this works is that if we decide that any particular kind of service like this is not necessary any longer, that means it is more clear and accurate to see our ongoing multi-year projection because we have removed budgeted costs for these particular services.
Correct. They would basically be removed from that MYP, the multi-year projection, and then for the remaining costs for the current year. So you'd see it in the first interim as well.
Thank you.
And remember, even though the dollars have not been spent, these are dollars that are in the budget right now until they're removed from the budget. And so that's important as we progress through the year, and why we do those interim reports is the budget was a projection in June of what we will spend. So we were projecting to spend this dollar amount. And so like Robert mentioned, at first interim, now those dollars can be pulled out of the budget and it frees up those budget dollars for other purposes.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you. I understand.
And we also have to remember that with layoffs, with certificated staff, whether that be administrative or teaching staff, the board has to approve a layoff by March 15th for the next school year. So approving a layoff for the current year, even though these positions are vacant, still the board cannot do that. But if the board takes action, then we would take that as the message of, okay, we're not going to fill those positions next year. They would remain vacant for the rest of this year.
That helps clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
So we're anticipating not needing these 2 elementary school teachers next year. And what did this program specialist, what was their job? And will we be now having to pay a consultant to do that position instead of filling it internally?
To answer your first question, we're anticipating these 2 elementary school positions not to be filled, and they would not be part of our staffing for next year. And I'm going to turn to my colleague, Dr. Hedegaard, to answer the next question.
Good evening. The BCBA position, it's a board certified behaviorist, behavior analyst position. We have 3 of those in the full-time equivalencies in the budget that carried over from prior years. And so by any time that we are contracting for positions, we also want to make sure that we have the FTE or the full-time equivalency in our budget, so that then we are showing good faith that we're trying to fill any contracted services with our own team members. So by placing this forward, this was actually in collaboration with we have 1 BCBA on staff, and then we're contracting for the other FTE. So in collaboration with them, we're always analyzing our caseloads. We're putting this forward, making this statement that we have enough support to serve the student needs currently as it sits with the 2 FTE equivalents. So we're not contracting then for this vacancy per se. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense, but what happens if next year there is a need for that 3rd FTE, and we've effectively tonight said we're not going to try and fill it internally?
Yes, I think, one thing that is always constant is change. And that is why we are constantly monitoring student enrollment, student needs, and having to adjust. So I would say we're making an educated decision tonight based on what we know and what we are projecting. There is always something that could change, and then we come back and we would be asking for adding additional FTE at that time. But for right now and where our levels are at for student need, we're confident in putting this forward in order to be able to, redirect the resources.
So if the need does arise for a 3rd FTE, you can bring it back to the board and we can vote to fly that position again?
Yes, there is a process by which we can propose to add more FTE, and then maybe I should turn that back over to Dr. Palazuelos if you have more questions, but yes.
So I have a question. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask it right now. Internally, we pay that position $138,991. What does the consultant position cost us?
That's a great question. So, and it can be frustrating at times, but so often my responses are, it depends, because there's lots of consultants, there's lots of agencies, they often have different hourly rates, sometimes they charge by daily rates. We could share with you some of the rates of our consulting partners in order for you to be able to see that for transparency, but I will offer that there is a not super broad, but it can depend. It can vary across various non-public agencies going back to our conversation last night.
So I don't understand why we don't know what that consultant costs us.
I may be misunderstanding the question.
Do you mean the current one of the two?
Correct. So we have one that we're employing, I assume, maybe towards that number. I'm just wondering if the consultant costs significantly more than when we have that position filled internally.
I can refer to that and get you that information. I can attest that the consultant does cost more on an hourly rate, but we currently have a posting on EdJoin for a BCBA position. So we are actively recruiting to hire for that position. And so if we are able to hire someone then that is qualified for that, we would no longer be contracting.
But aren't we right now saying we're not going to fly that position anymore?
Okay, let me clarify once more. I apologize. We have one filled position. We have one that is vacant, that is currently flown, that we are actively trying to fill. And then we have a third position that we are putting forward this evening and making the choice to close that position. So we still have the one position that we are trying to fill, and that is how we are justifying contracting for the services.
So if we're able to fill that position, the consultant then is...
Correct. We have agreements, master agreements with all of our consultants that states that we can give them a certain amount of notice and that then our contract can be terminated on short notice.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Shane?
Can you tell me where these, the locations for these elementary positions, or is that not allowed? What schools?
Absolutely. The two schools would be Pioneer and Pine Grove Elementary School.
And I guess my follow-up would be, are we putting any kind of strain on staffing there if these positions aren't filled? Currently there's not a strain? Is that what we're saying?
We'll have to make adjustments. A lot of it has to do with the size of our classes and our grade spans, but we'd have to make adjustments to it. And that's something we would work with our principal on and making sure that available staff are there to be able to support students.
Another way to say it is student contacts are within the teacher contractual limits at those sites without these two positions.
On the contract positions that we filled this year, what we had budgeted, did the costs come in higher than we had budgeted, or did we have enough of a buffer?
And are you, just for clarity, are you referring to our budget for positions and openings and what we actually hired for and how they came in?
Yeah, like, if our projection was a certain cost, did we come in at that projection, or were we short of what the actual costs were? Just trying to get a handle on, more than likely, it's going to be a lot higher than an employee.
You're talking about contractors, correct?
Yeah.
Contractors.
So are you referring though to like the contractors for the most part on the county side, and therefore the special education positions? These are general ed.
Any contract position that we had budgeted for, did we, when we filled them with the contractor position, when we had them budgeted, did they come in higher than what we projected was going to be the cost?
Yeah, and we're still working on the analysis on that
Okay.
to get that down.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get some idea on the cost. I'm just, like everything, everything's higher than when you look at it once you get to that point. So that's all I had. Thank you.
James?
Ms. Hedegaard, when you were speaking to Mr. Farrar, I don't know if I caught it. I'm not sure if you dropped it, but did you say if at the time of need of the BCBA specialist, are we able to hire at that time, or is it we can't fly it till the next? Does that make sense? Can we fill it right there, like if we need it, or do we gotta wait?
Well, I would
Obviously, a contractor, I'm sure you can, right?
Right. I mean, I think in general, we're talking about two separate things. One being like the concept of being able to have in our budget an allotted amount for a salary for a human, right? A team member. And so I think if we approved this evening, as an example, the removal of the BCBA position, we will still have 2 of those roles, team members, within our current community. So if down the road, student need presents itself that we need to go back to a 3rd, right? We just follow a process of requesting personnel, of essentially adding in a 1.0 full-time equivalency back into our budget, so that then we can justify being able to advertise and try to hire for that position, which of course there's always a process for that, and that we will follow in order to identify someone that's as highly qualified as possible and experienced to fill that role. So I just want to be transparent. Nothing is instantaneous, but there is a process in order to streamline it, in order to be able to have that capacity filled as quickly as possible. I would also add that for the special education department, because these things are so fluid. I mean, one example is just as a public entity, we could have someone walk through our doors tomorrow that has a significant level of need that we are not currently staffed or prepared for. And we have to adjust. We have to be flexible. So I think, we are constantly analyzing caseloads, and in particular, we're analyzing on a detailed level based on services as well as caseloads that we have in our contracts on a minimum of a monthly basis. And that's a huge capacity that our office team working in our SACE system and the data management do. So, I mean, we're monitoring this because the needs can change overnight, literally. And we just have to be flexible. But I am confident in putting this position forward, given our current state. We have one position that we are actively trying to hire for. We do have a wonderful partner that we are contracting with in the interim, but our preference is always to hire team members and have them in-house.
And I heard you say that you're confident in putting this forward.
Based on our current level of need and in collaborating with our BCBA, who is currently our team member, and reviewing the caseloads, we are confident that then, yes, we can push this forward in order to close this position, still meet student needs, still try to expand our team, and then we will adjust if something more significant happens in the future.
Is that the same feeling for the other position as well? Confident in pushing it forward?
The other 2 teaching positions?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yes. Okay. I mean, obviously you wouldn't put it in an agenda item, but I want to ask that question.
Yep.
Okay, are there any further questions or comments on this item? Okay, then we would just need a motion.
A motion to approve item 15.3, resolution ACUSD 2526-04, intention to terminate certificated employees due to reduction of particular kinds of services.
Second.
Okay, the student board members don't vote on this one. Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, we're going to move on to 15.4, Resolution 2526-5, determination of tie-breaking criteria with Dr. Palazuelos.
Thank you, Board President Parker and trustees. This is a companion item to anytime there's a reduction, we have to make sure that we have a tie-breaking criteria. As I stated previously, these positions are currently vacant, so we wouldn't have a scenario with a tie-breaking criteria. However, we do need to have it from a procedural standpoint to make sure that in the event that there was, that we've determined that order of termination for certificated employees. Recommendation is approval. There are no fiscal implications for this particular criteria.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions and comments. Peyton?
No.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
Is there anything significantly different in this criteria than we have used in the past?
No, there's nothing significantly different.
This is essentially the standard practice we've been doing when we've had scenarios like this.
This is the same tie-breaking criteria that was proposed and presented previously for other certificated layoffs that occurred last spring.
We just have to do it every single time?
Correct. It is a companion item. Anytime you're doing a particular kinds of service reduction, you have to have a tie-breaking criteria in the event that it needs to be utilized. We know that we have vacancies that are not going to be, there's not an individual in there, but we have to make sure we have this as part of it.
Okay, well, I guess it's a good reminder then of how the process works. Thank you.
Okay, Ken?
No questions.
Shane?
So this resolution is kind of a catch-all for all situations in the future
This one is only subject to this particular layoff that we just discussed right now.
for the one previously. Okay.
Anytime we have a layoff, you would have a tie-breaking criteria that would be companion with it, and it sets out what criterion you're going to use if you have ties.
Thank you.
Okay, James?
No questions.
I don't have any questions on this item either, so we would just need a motion.
Move to approve agenda item 15-4, the resolution, ACUSD, determination of tie-breaking criteria.
Second.
And the vote, again, student board members don't vote on personnel. Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, we're moving on to item 15.5, MOU, Grand Canyon University. Dr. Palazuelos.
Thank you, trustees. This is a memorandum of understanding for a teacher preparation program. It's a partnership that we would have with Grand Canyon University. The term of the agreement would expire August 26th of 2028. It would provide practicum, field experience, student teaching, educational administration, internships, or school counseling practicum internships. We have an individual that has informed us of their interest in continuing their education with Grand Canyon, and I recommend this to the trustees for approval. There are no fiscal implications, and yet another example of an opportunity to be able to grow opportunities with institutes of higher education.
Okay. Peyton, any questions or comments?
No, not at this time.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
Just why is it necessary to have an expiration instead of having it being an ongoing thing?
You know, that's a great question. One of the things that we're learning with some of our institutes of higher education, there were some agreements back from 2018 that I can speak to specifically where it was set up in perpetuity. The dilemma is that didn't give you a chance to revisit the document in case there's been any changes in law, any changes in requirements for fingerprinting, clearances, or what have you. And so by putting these terms on it, it really gives an opportunity for us as an organization to be able to revisit with them before the end of that term, and then make sure that we're up to date with whatever new requirements the state may have or that we may have as an employer.
So we are insisting on the expiration, not them.
No, it's actually them. They're working. It's feedback that they've received from employers, or in this case, school districts. We'll see anywhere terms from 5 years, 3 years to 5 years. But as far as ongoing and perpetuity, it's very rare. It's becoming more and more rare.
Okay, I do think that's wise, considering that the document, although it has no financial implications for us, it does clearly state that there are financial implications and on the responsibility of the university.
Correct.
So that does help clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
No questions.
Shane?
No questions.
James?
I have no questions, but I do want to give a shout out to my nephew who just started at Grand Canyon University.
Go Lopes.
Proud of you, proud of you, La Tuila.
Okay. Okay. Then we would just need a motion for this item.
I make a motion that we approve agenda item 15.5, MOU Grand Canyon University.
Second.
Okay, and the vote, Peyton?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 15.6, public notice declaration in support of provisional internship permit. Dr. Palazuelos.
Thank you again, trustees. This particular item here is a provisional internship permit. The individual that is named on the document is Colleen Rutherford. Ms. Rutherford, in 23-24, we recruited for a position of a mild moderate support needs teacher for Jackson Elementary. We were unable to find a suitable credential teacher or intern. We were able to hire this particular individual on a one-year short-term staffing permit. In order for that person to be able to continue as part of their internship program in the now 25-26, it would require the provisional internship permit. We recommend it is only valid for 1 year, and the individual is in service with us at Plymouth Elementary, and we recommend approval.
Okay, we'll go on the line. Any questions? Peyton?
No.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
It states they require more time to complete their program. So are we strictly talking about actual classes that the person's enrolled in? There aren't hang-ups regarding testing and whatnot? Or I guess what I'm trying to ask is, are we highly confident this person will successfully complete the program?
We have every reason to believe this individual will be able to complete it within that year timeline. This is one of the things that we've been able to do is anyone that's on a short-term staffing permit or is considering a provisional intern, they have a chance to meet with me. We talk about their program, make sure that they're on a path to be able to complete it, because the last thing we want is someone to start this, and then we learn that they're unable to meet the requirements, and then essentially at the end of the year, they're no longer able to continue teaching with us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ken, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Shane?
My manager has experience with this, so I think it's a good thing to have. So no questions.
James?
No questions.
I also like the internship. I did one, so I think it's good to have. With that being said, we would just does our student board member shouldn't vote on this then either, correct?
It's a personnel matter.
Personnel, yeah.
Personnel item, yeah.
Okay, so we would just need a motion for this item.
Move to approve item 15.6, public notice declaration support of provisional internship permit.
Second.
Okay, and then the vote. Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, we're on to 15.7, the Sunshine Proposals 2526. Dr. Palazuelos.
Thank you, trustees. This particular item here is the initial proposals for amendments and or modifications to the 2025-26 reopeners for the 2024-2027 collective bargaining agreement with CSEA Local Chapter 239. You have two documents that are contained within this particular item. The first is from CSEA 239, in which they indicate the articles that they are interested in bringing forward, which are Article 7, pay and allowances, Article 9, health and welfare benefits, Article 17, transportation, and then an article to be determined. With respect to the Amador County Unified School District, we have our interests as well on there. In this particular year, as part of our agreement, we were able to reopen the contract for negotiations for Article 7, pay and allowances, and Article 9, and two additional articles. Our articles are Article 6, hours and overtime, and Article 17, transportation. We recommend support and approval for this so we can begin that work with our local Chapter 239.
Okay. We'll go down the line. Questions and comments. Peyton?
No.
Claire?
No.
Peter?
So the fact that these are similar but not identical is because it's basically a request to approve the process to continue, and that over time, agreements will be created.
Yeah, absolutely. And to take it a step further, I mean, ideally, we get to a point where we reach agreement and then we're able to bring something back to the trustees for approval, showing these same articles that we opened up at this particular meeting.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Ken?
No questions.
Shane?
I have a question. Not sure if you can answer it. When you have multiple articles, is it beneficial to have these all on the table, or to try to knock them down one at a time to come up to an agreement?
Yeah, I would say it really comes down to the work we do with the team. In some cases, we're able to provide more than one proposal at a time on different articles. Sometimes we'll go an article at a time to be able to make sure that we get to a point of a tentative agreement, then move on to the next. We were limited this year because of the nature of our agreement. We were only able to have the 4 articles, the 2 that are already hard set, which are the pay and allowances and health and welfare benefits, and then the additional 2 that we had as an option. So, but I think back to what you were asking, it really comes down to the comfort of the team and the speed of the team. One of the dilemmas, or not dilemmas, but always a challenge, we're scheduled with our CSE chapter, local chapter 239, once a month for negotiations, and so it comes down to how we're able to work within that session.
I'm just thinking out loud that when you have 4 articles that seem pretty involved, that it'd probably be better to focus on one. I haven't been in negotiations like this, but that's just my thoughts from an outsider. Thank you.
James, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Just to clarify though, these articles cover the entire year, right? So these are opening them up to discussion for the whole year.
Correct.
Okay, not just
During the term of
during
negotiations.
the, okay. Are there any further questions or comments on this item? No? No, okay. Okay, we would just need a motion then.
Make a motion that we approve item 15.7, Sunshine Proposals 2526, A and B.
Second.
Okay, and the vote, student board members can't vote on this one either. Sorry, guys. Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 16, our discussion item. 16.1 is our cell phone policy review with Ms. Horn.
Yeah, before Mrs. Horn starts, this came at a request of board members. We wanted to create it as a discussion item. I apologize to our student board members. We have an agenda filled with items that you can't vote on. We need you here for this discussion, right? You're going to provide us with some good insight about the lovely cell phones in school, okay? And so Mrs. Horn is going to kind of take us through our current policy, and hopefully we can have an organic discussion about ideas to improve upon that, to ideally make these phones less of a distraction and problem.
And that was my boss's way of saying, don't kill the messenger. Thanks, ladies. Good evening, board. You asked for me to bring you some information regarding AB 3216, or otherwise known as the Phone Free Schools Act. So just for your edification, in case you weren't sure, this was approved by Governor Newsom on September 23rd, 2024, and it amends section 48901.7 of the California Ed Code that says by July 1st of 2026, all school districts and LEAs must develop, adopt, and update every 5 years a policy to limit or prohibit pupils' cell phone usage. All right, so we currently have this policy. In anticipation of this, when we did our global adoption, I know you can't read that. That tiny one on the bottom is just what it looks like in Assembly. When we looked at our global adoptions in June, one of the global adoptions we did was this policy. We looked at policy 5131.8 of our current board policy. And we, with consultation from CSBA, adopted this current language. It was given 2 readings at board meetings and was approved on the 6/18/25. This language is currently the language used up and down the state in most board policies. This was created by California School Boards Association and takes the intent of AB 3216 and then incorporates also the Ed Code 48901. Some things I highlighted that I believe I heard from the board members were of interest were, what are we doing about it? So our board policy currently says mobile communication devices shall be turned off during instructional time. There is a however, and that however underneath is actual Ed Code. And it says that in the case of an emergency or when a teacher or administrator grants permission, when a licensed physician or surgeon determines that it's necessary, and when it's required as part of an IEP. In anticipating the next question, there are currently cases on all of our campuses where students need their cell phones in order to manage their blood sugar and other health issues. So we do have students that have cell phones with licensed physicians and IEP parameters given. Second part of our current board policy has laid out all of the other Ed Code, but it says when a student uses a mobile communication device in an unauthorized manner while at school under the supervision and control of ACUSD or ACOE, The student may be disciplined, and the ACUSD, ACOE employee may temporarily confiscate the device. The employee shall store the device securely until it is returned to the student or turned over to the principal or designee as appropriate. So as we go through the next pieces, I just wanted to let you know this is currently the one that we have. And when you see the policies that our schools are using, you'll see that they have taken this board policy and created their policies on campuses to reflect not only the intent of this, but the letter of the law. So our ed code, again, is 489017. It's important to keep in mind that the very first piece of this, when this legislation was introduced, it was a hot item. Parents were nervous and angry. In the event of an emergency, they need to be able to get in touch with their students. So the caveat that the ed code put in is, in the case of an emergency or response to a perceived threat or danger, students are guaranteed the right to their phones during that time. And that's in the ed code. It also says that teachers and administrators can grant that permission. All right, currently, so what our current schools are doing, from the Jackson Junior and Ione Junior student handbooks, they coordinated their handbooks this year, so they are identical across the board. And just before we jump in there, as a former elementary school principal, we do have cell phones at elementary school. It doesn't tend to be as big of a problem as it was in our middle and high schoolers. So I chose to focus on the policies at those. For most of the time, I can tell you, I would tell kids, turn it off, keep it in your backpacks. And in our TK through 6th grade students, for most of the time, they were good. Every once in a while, one would end up on my desk and we'd end up calling home. But for the most part, our elementary kids are keeping those off during the school day. At the junior highs, it's very similar. These are the actual wording lifted right out of their handbooks. They are not to be kept in pockets or used anywhere on campus. They've actually adopted, and you'll see another policy a few slides later, what LA Unified refers to as bell-to-bell, no cell. So they have the same sort of policy that students may use it before and after school to contact their parent or guardian for pickup. And then they actually laid out their consequences, violations and consequences that happen when and if you violate the cell phone policy at either of the junior highs. Theirs tends to be a little more stricter than our high school campuses. Admittedly, both of my junior high administrators say they're having great luck with this. They're not having problems with it. They feel like it's working very well right now, and students are respecting it and living by this. Amador and Argonaut High Schools, this is their technology use policy. It's a little bit different than the middle schools. And in talking with our high school administrators, there were a lot of good reasons why that was. And in fact, they said if you would like further discussion, they'd be happy to come and present to you why they feel like this is the best policy for the high schools. But they're responsible for their devices. They are permitted to use them during lunch and passing periods. At all times, if they're using an earpiece, they must leave one ear available. They can't be visible or audible at times during classes, assemblies, or rallies. They cannot use it to record other students or other student behaviors. And if they are, you can see right there, if you record instances of inappropriate behavior on campus and repost these to any social media, you're subject to a 5-day suspension. Students are expected to leave technology in the classroom when they leave during instructional time, except for the purposes of documented medical leave. To put that into perspective, if you need the hall pass to use the restroom, you turn in your cell phone. So that was restated again at the bottom. Again, both of our high school administrators and their vice principals said that they are finding good respect to this. Obviously, there's always going to be outliers, but they are finding that it's working very well.
May I comment on this one?
Sure.
Is that all right? Manteca Unified has been trying to fight this battle for a couple of years now, and I'll admit that one of the biggest impediments to successfully doing this is not the students, but the teachers. And I was one of those bad teachers who wasn't completely on board at first and thought that it would work to just say, you know, keep it in your backpack, turned off, that kind of thing. And finally, with a little more encouragement from administration, and I strongly encourage any teacher present to do the same, to recognize that the only way this is successful if you have everyone on the same team and really wants to buy in, really wants to be consistent and wants to do it. And so I don't know how expensive it would be to purchase pocket charts or some other sort of method, but I think it's a far more effective method, whether you're using the pocket chart that hangs on my wall, that the students just know it is the standard procedure. And this year has been amazing. They come in, they get their book, they drop the phone, they get to learning, and we reverse the order on the last minute or two of class. It's been incredible. A lot more learning going on in class. There are exceptions, and certainly I think that it's wise to have the by teacher permission piece in there. And I do also appreciate the transparency regarding the disciplinary stuff. It might be wise to create a less wordy poster that can be, clearly posted in classrooms so students know what the standards are. But sometimes you do have different use cases. For example, I don't know if any of your schools do have some kind of a broadcast media class, but typically, I'm not sure which photographer said this, but the best camera you have is the one that happens to be with you. And so it's been one thing that's slightly difficult for me is I have a new broadcast journalism class and we don't have sufficient cameras, we don't have sufficient equipment, and so there's a lot of cell phone use in that class. And we are recording and editing and doing all kinds of things with these, which I don't know if anyone wants to disagree, but sometimes the computer power in this thing is better than what we can afford to give students anyway. So I do appreciate the flexibility of that piece, and I'm going to have to steal the idea of being very clear about using something and posting it to social media will be a 5-day suspension. I hope you enforce that one. That's a strong potential deterrent.
The most common violation with that is when students video record a fight.
Right.
And then post it. And our administrators have been very, very consistent in that when they're able to prove that a student recorded a fight. And it is commonplace now, unfortunately, that when there's a fight, the two students who were fighting get suspended, and there ends up being multiple other students suspended because the culture now is don't break it up, don't help, film it, post it online.
Right. And I agree that can definitely be the trend. And at East Union High School where I work presently, we did have a new administration came in that wanted to say, no, this is what we're going to do. We're actually going to achieve the standard. And they were far less permissive, far less tolerant of flagrant violations than the previous administration. And it took some time, but after 3 years of this admin, we no longer have remotely a number of the problems that we did. So I applaud that and say hold firm and yes, have real consequences. I hope this was helpful. Sorry if I'm waxing long, but I feel pretty strongly about this one. Get the phones out of their hands unless you have to use them in the class.
Funny that you should say that because I have East Union High School's their policy right up there. I look at that. And look at that handy dandy poster that Bret Harte Union High School has put out that shows what the violations are. So yeah, these are two of our neighbors. I maybe selected one just because I wanted to be sure that I knew a teacher there or something.
Yeah, okay.
I know a guy. So the policies are very, very similar to what we have. Again, these are the policies that go home to the families. I think, Trustee Gale, to your point, you may be talking about a two-pronged approach. I focused on the student side, you may be focusing on the administrator and the faculty side. And luckily for us, Ed Code actually allowed put all of that into one little thing. So I just wanted to point out, so thanks for, jumping ahead on that slide. There's one of the posters that Bret Harte has everywhere. And then this is the policy that is released to East Union High School from Manteca Unified. like I referenced, LAUSD. Frequently, we look to LAUSD because they are the biggest in our state. Bell to bell, no cell. So they have actually, their policy launched this spring. And the deal that with LAUSD, and I hesitate because I don't necessarily want to recommend the route that they took, but they are larger than most cities. They haven't updated their board policy since 2011. Their board policy is still the same. They instead chose to pass a resolution and are leaving the decision up to what they are referring to LSLC, Local School Leadership Council. In our context, that would be School Site Council. And those local school leadership councils can decide if they want to spend the money to buy the Faraday bags or yonder pouches or the lockup, the little cell phone jails or whatnot, or not. So they've gone a different route. They've adopted a resolution, and then they've turned the power over to the site councils and asked them for each of the schools to make the best decision for their communities. Obviously, in a district their size, a one-size-fits-all rarely fits. So that's the way that they are handling this. But in doing all of my research, looking up and down the state, I was trying to find who had different board language. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard a definite desire to find something more restrictive and maybe a little stronger than what we currently adopted in June. I was not able to find any board language throughout the state that was different or more restrictive than what we currently have. So I reached out to CSBA and said, what do you guys have? And they said, you have the most current recommended language. However, in my deep search, I was able to come across Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District, who has their ARs. So those policies that we showed you from the middle school and high school student handbooks are actually part of the administrative regs. It's important to note, though, that this is a TK-8 district. They don't have a high school. So their policies, their administrative regs are very prescriptive, and I linked them there for you. They're pretty lengthy, but they basically mirror what we're doing at our elementary and middle schools. You can have it, you have to have it turned off, and it has to be put away. And then it lays out all of what happens if you don't. First violation, second violation, and so forth. But interestingly enough, they are the only ones in the state of California who have listed their policy violations and their discipline in their administrative regs. So given that, we kind of have some considerations to take. Trustee Gale, you hit the first one I was thinking. Fiscal impact of having to purchase the yonder bags or the Faraday bags or yonder pouches. Interesting in doing all the research and talking to neighboring districts and other places up and down the state, I heard more times than not, those pouches seem like a great idea until the kids figure out they can buy the magnets on Amazon and undo them. So if you don't know what a yonder pouch is or a Faraday bag, it's a magnetic bag, it's sealed up, and then you need basically an earth magnet to undo it. Thanks to Amazon, they sell them, and so you could be the most popular kid in your class if you happen to be the one with the magnet. So I did hear a few school administrators say it sounded like a great idea. It looked like it was going to be the perfect way until the kids outsmarted us. So same thing with pouches. I heard from multiple administrators that pouches are a great idea. But as you probably already know, the phone that gets put in the pouch isn't necessarily the only phone. So it's frequently a dummy that's put in the pouch, and there's another one. So yeah, more often than not, the wall pouch seems to be the favored way to do it because it's easy to access. It's right there. Occasionally, I did hear horror stories of somebody took someone else's phone. So there's all of those caveats. Other considerations, our current board policy 5131.8 meets the educational code requirements of the Phone Free School Acts of AB 3216, and we're well before the July 1st deadline. So we currently, it works for what it has to work for. Most school districts up and down the state are finding good success with the same board policy language that we currently have in the implementation of the school site policies, as we discussed. There are potential legal fees associated with drafting our own board policy language. Just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean we can't create it. However, in the search and assembly, as we always love to do in education, we like to use somebody else do it, we'll copy and do the same. We would be the first, and we would bear the legal cost to get lawyers to help us draft that so that it doesn't violate the ed code and would be enforceable and all of those things. So here are the possible next steps. If we want, we can maintain the current board policy language. If you'd like us to give a directive, Ed Services would be happy to work with the school sites to draft their site policies in a different way. If you felt like they needed to reach out to their communities and return and give you another report of how that's going, or if you wanted more stringent applications, however that is, we can work with our, predominantly, again, I'm going to say our 4 administrators, 2 middle, 2 high. We could seek legal advice and create our own board policy language and to meet your expectation and be a forerunner in that. And then underneath, that's what we would go through to then reenact that. Or we could explore adopting a board resolution like LAUSD did. Any questions?
So to sum up and make sure I'm understanding you properly, if what I think you're telling us is our policy is fine, it meets the standard, we don't need to change anything. However, on the page what it says our high schools are currently doing, some of this information regarding, like, for example, the 5-day suspension, et cetera, that's not necessarily included in the policy. It's simply how we're implementing it. Is that correct?
That is included in the student and family handbook. So it is the policy of the school.
So it's, okay, that's what I'm trying to say. The fine print on how we're actually doing it can be handled at the school level. It's not the highfalutin legal stuff that would require lawyers, et cetera, at the board policy level.
To go with that, a school policy, the main caveat there is they need to ensure that it doesn't violate a board policy or an education code. Right? And so what they're doing is perfectly allowable because it fits within the parameters of the approved board policy and the education code.
They're simply spelling out how they're doing it.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Love it.
Okay.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll start down with Peyton. Comments on this?
I like the policy because it does have like the however, because for example, my ceramics class, our teacher does allow us to use our cell phones for inspiration and like if we're doing our like work and we're keeping up to date, and obviously she is very strict with like if we're behind in our projects, then she'll like make sure that we're still like on task and doing whatnot. But she has so much flexibility because in order to like be creative, it's like so much easier when you have inspiration. So like that's like one example that I use Pinterest all the time to create my cute little ceramics pieces. And then like another one in Spanish class, we use, most of the time it's computers, but if we don't have our Chromebooks, we're allowed to like go on our cell phones to use Gimkit and Kahoot and all these games that like enhance our vocabulary. And those are all like, if it's like permitted by the teacher, it's okay. But I also don't know of a lot of cases at Amador that we've had a lot of issues, or at least in my classes, with cell phones or with teachers having to like prohibit and take away cell phones. But I'm obviously not like in every classroom. But other than like, I think it's a very like reasonable policy that we can keep. And even if I did have one question. Are we trying to accept a new part to the policy? Or like, cause I know this is like or are we just like updating it?
I'll go ahead and answer if the board's okay with that. I think that the discussion came out originally that there is a parameter that they're aware of, that we have to have something in place by July 1st of 20, and they were just trying to make sure, what are we doing? Are we on track to be?
Okay, so are we keeping like the one that we have now or adopting a new one?
That will be up to the board.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Claire?
Like Peyton, I do appreciate the policy. I think it works well in my classes. In my experience, like her, I'm not in every class, but students get their work done. If the phone is in the pouch, it's in there for the period. But some teachers do not use those pouches, and they will be flexible and will let us go on them sometimes. And I don't see a huge problem in it because the work is done and the teacher is okay with it. And like in other classes, the phone will be in the pouch. And if we ask for inspiration or ideas that we need to look on, our teacher will let us do that as long as our phones are being used responsibly. And in my case, our phones have been used responsibly. And there hasn't been a lot of issues that I know of with the phones. But I do like the policy, and I think it's reasonable as well.
Okay, thank you. Peter, anything else to add?
Talk too much. Thank you for listening. I feel validated.
Okay. Okay, Ken?
I would just hope that the feedback you're getting from the principals is correct. I don't see how, if we don't take the phone away, that they aren't going to be using it. And sometimes in forms to be able to cheat on their assignments and what have you. Cheat might be the wrong word. That's just what's coming to mind. So I'd like to see where the phones are taken away during the class education period. That's just my 2 cents.
I mean, like universally doing like a pouch system or something like that for every classroom?
Correct.
Okay. Shane?
Has there been any incident this year where phones have been used to record fights or bullying that we've seen in the past?
We would need to double check with our principals, but I think there's been a couple of instances. There's been a couple of instances, but again, we got to be careful when there's low number of instances to highlight them with student discipline and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess case by case, but I agree with Peter. We have to have a universal look, have all the teachers have the same policy. I was seeing determining if it's an emergency in some cases, including if my little girl had a cell phone, it would be when did Taylor Swift's get engaged or something like that, and then everyone's using their phone. So I don't know, I guess the emergency, we're talking about life or death or something that's serious, but, some people could be using it just to have an excuse to get their phone out. So anyway, I look forward to, I guess, getting an update. Thank you for the 2 school experts on the end. Glad to hear their opinion, and that's it.
James?
I've actually thought about this quite a bit. I do like this policy. I'm split because I do see, I'm on campus often at one site, so I don't want to be biased, but from what I've experienced, they're teenagers. It doesn't make it okay, but I do see kids using their phone constantly. It's like I do see kids using their phone in classroom. I don't know if they're allowed to or not to at the time that I see them. That's not me to determine, but I can see where the teachers are struggling with doing what they need to do because of they're not getting the full attention from the student. The thing that popped into my head was with the little cubby holes. So immediately I thought back to when my kid was, my daughter was, I don't know what grade, but I bought her a pair of Yeezys, a pair of Yeezys. So You put your shoes in the cubby. Well, guess what? The Yeezys got stolen. So same thing with cell phones. Like, you got to worry about that. Also, I think of an emergency. So if we need to evacuate a classroom, I hope a teacher wouldn't say, hold on, kids, let's get our cell phones. But then what are those kids going to do if it's a worst case scenario when they've been taught to run? You know what I mean? They don't have communication to, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. This is just what I've put together in my head, and things that I've learned. Who or how are they going to contact? What's going to happen? Safety pops into my head. But I definitely do think a policy needs to be put in place that's going to set the kids up to learn, and respect the learning environment. Maybe, I think Ken said, or Shane had said, get more information from the sites and the teachers and the principals and even more of the students. That's all.
Okay. I was happy this came up on this agenda. I have strong feelings about this. I get it. I am a phone person. I'm on my phone way too much. I'm on social media way too much. And I know that students are on their phones and on social media probably way too much. And these days, of course, we can't control what they want to do before school. We can't control what they do at home, what they have access to, all these things. It's not our purview. But when they are at school, I think that there is something to be said for them sitting down, not staring at the screen, writing on a piece of paper, speaking to each other, not texting each other. And to be fair, I mean, I've been around a lot of teenagers and preteens and stuff, and a lot of times not a lot of good comes out of doom scrolling and endless communications with each other. Unfettered access to the internet is a scary thing, especially these days. And so I think that if we can in any way make them make more meaningful connections with each other, with their teachers, that we should try to do that. I also think that we need to be universal across the district. I don't think that I don't want to say that I don't want the sites to be able to like pick and choose what they want to do, because I get that too, as far as teachers and things like that. But I also feel like when we start saying, oh, well, this school does this and this school does that and this school uses this and this school uses that, this is a problem we've talked about, is consistency. And so I think if we're going to do something like this, I think that consistency needs to happen. I also don't think that we need to go the route of like hiring a lawyer to write something new. I don't think we need to like reinvent the wheel. We have the language, that's fine. That's fine. I think that we can come up with some way in order to just say, hey, this is it. I don't think we need to go as far as like nuclear radiation bags. I think it's a little much. But I mean, there are very inexpensive shoe holder racks on Amazon that we could literally buy for $13.99. I just bought them because I saw this thing where you can roll up your kids' clothes in it for vacation. Anyway, so they're there. It's a thing. We don't need to be spending millions of dollars on this. Just going to throw that out there. But I do feel strongly about this. I think that when I went to school, in high school, I was kind of at the very beginning of like actual texting. The good old, yeah, a Razr cell phone, but I also had a like lime green digital camera. That was like my thing. So I think that there is something to be said for going back to, in any way that we can, normalcy for some of these kids, and as much as we can. Again, we can't control what they do outside of school. That's fine. Whatever. That's not our business. But what we can control in the schools, I think, is really important. And I mean, I watched the senior video at Argonaut, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cute, the writing on the thing or whatever. But how many kids don't have a signature because they don't write, they type? And so for me, I think it's like, all right, what can we do to A, protect their little brains and their minds, because it is a vicious place out there right now, and Anyway, that's my 2 cents. So thank you for bringing this, though. I appreciate it.
I'll just add, back where I grew up, South Dakota, I believe they're starting a cell phone policy that is very strict, and it's for the entire state. And it might be interesting to see what their policy is, because I was actually surprised that it was so strict that it was basically banning cell phones so that the students could focus more on their in-class work. So anyway.
Just one little additional follow-up regarding the safety issue, for what it's worth, and not to oversimplify. Certainly, anyone can correct me on how things are done here. But as I tried to explain, I do think that the pocket chart where they simply place it is a very simple, easy procedural thing for emergencies as well, partially because it's no longer the norm that we simply all rush out of the room immediately. Even on a fire drill, something like that, we have a procedure, at least in Manteca, where we sit and wait and make sure that this is legit and we really are going to leave the room. There's plenty of time to get ready and be certain and get our phones and whatever before we file out in an orderly manner. And so I hope if that's not oversimplifying, but I think that that's not really a big concern, the emergency piece.
I think I get that too, and I think that I think that the emergency thing is a valid concern. I get that. I also think, though, if we're talking about something happening and it's the worst, I would rather my kid literally run out the door and as far away as possible than sitting there, let me record and text you. Please just go and get away. So that's my take on it. But I also hear what you're saying. If you're talking about like a fire drill or something in that nature, like, yes, I agree with that. So that's just my take on that piece. But I do understand. I'm not trying to downplay the concern of not being able to like reach your child or something like that in an emergency. So I just throw that out there.
I was just going to say fire drills are definitely orderly and well. But in an actual catastrophe, it's not so organized. But I hear and respect what you're saying. I get it. You're right.
Thank you. I always enjoy every bit of flavor you bring to things, particularly that burp, 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 burp. That was legit. Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions or comments on this? Just a discussion item, so we're not taking any action on it, but just to kind of give you guys some insight onto what we're thinking.
Yeah, I think I mean, the next steps for us would be to go back and have this discussion with our principals, in particular our secondary principals, to see one of the things we emphasize a lot in our principals meetings is having breakout time to make sure that our elementary, junior high, and high school principals are in sync, right? We know that when policies differ too much from one school to the other that's of the same level, grade levels, right? That's when word gets out very quickly. You know, they do this over at Argonaut, but they don't do it at Amador, right? You know, I mean, that just gets out very fast. And so having our principals work together to make sure they're in sync, in particular, like I said, at the same grade levels is important. So we'll go through this with them and talk about the shoe holders and things like that to see if we want to be more universal in that respect.
Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on. We don't have any board policy updates this meeting, so we'll move on to our board reports. Mr. Critchfield?
Yeah, I just want to highlight in my visitations to schools and classrooms, just want to highlight our bilingual staff. I've had a couple of experiences with students, one in particular without identifying where they attend school, but an elementary age student moved here last year, did not speak any English, was able to converse with her since I am a Spanish speaker, and I checked in with this student, and it is amazing to see how advanced her English is in 1 year. And we have a great bilingual support staff team, and I just want to recognize them for all the work they're doing because these kids come in sometimes and it's a lot. And then to the teachers themselves, to have a student come in, and more often than not, the teacher does not speak their language, to then have to teach them, and what they're able to do there is just very commendable, and I just want to highlight that as part of our staff.
Thank you. I like the positivity. Okay, reports, Peyton.
Okay, so since the last board meeting, we've had our homecoming game, which was September 5th. And our Spirit Week was like a bunch of Hollywood movies because our theme was lights, camera, action. And we had the freshmen, like, whole theme, their booth was Indiana Jones, the sophomores were Top Gun, the juniors were Jurassic Park, and the seniors were Jaws. Each booth did really well. The freshmen actually went so out and like up and beyond, and I wanted to shout out Miss Neely and Miss Benner because they did really well, working with their freshmen to like create their whole booth. And like, it was just, they made like a whole bridge in front of their booth. It was so amazing. I thought it was so nice. But then the seniors did end up winning the competition between the classes. And then the freshmen ended up co-hosting the dance with ASB. We always help the freshmen during the homecoming dance just so we can like help them get on their feet and like help start the dance, because they're obviously coming from junior high where they don't like officially plan the dances. So we were just helping them out. And it had a really good turnout. One thing that happened on our school site on September 8th, we had a student organized walkout in protest from the health insurance. I don't know much about it because I found out after it had occurred, but I saw people walking off the campus like in protest of it. And it was like, I didn't even know that it was happening, but like the amount of participation from the students who like were involved, it kind of like opened my eyes. And I thought it was like really encouraging to see that the students were acting out for the teachers that are at our school. So I thought that was something that I had to speak about tonight. And lastly, our sports. So football starts league this Friday against Rosemont at Rosemont. Good luck to them. Volleyball is almost halfway through their season and league, and they have a game tomorrow at Union Mine. Cross country has an upcoming tournament. And then water polo, both boys and girls, had their first recorded game yesterday, and they start league pretty soon. And then flag football has been playing a lot of preseason games, and their first league game is tomorrow against Liberty Ranch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Claire?
On Argonaut's campus, we have homecoming next week, our homecoming game and dance. And we have homecoming breakfast that Friday morning, which is going to be led by parent volunteers and the students. And we have that homecoming ceremony and game that day as well. And then on Saturday, our homecoming theme is A Night in Rio, which Cheer is putting on, which is super awesome of them. And then for FFA, today they had their opening and closing ceremonies at Calaveras County Fairgrounds. And one of our open teams were awarded 5th place overall, and I was awarded Outstanding President against 30 other teams. And then, thank you. And then for sports, football plays at El Dorado on Friday. Volleyball plays Galt tomorrow at home. And then girls flag football plays Bradshaw Christian tomorrow as well. And then cross country is participating in the Mother Lode Monster Dash on October 25th, and they're also preparing for their Half Moon Bay trip. So,
Awesome, thank you. Peter?
Congratulations and welcome. Glad you're here. That's pretty awesome, pretty wonderful. Excited for this piece of it. The student involvement is always definitely a highlight, and appreciate your passion. I also appreciate the passion and the desire of the employees to speak out and advocate for what they think is best. I do think that's important and valid, but I would try to advocate for clear and open communication, and hope that in the meeting tomorrow with the ACTA that there is some solution found. Because in my 28 years of education, I don't know that I've ever been a part of a district that has chosen to go all the way to deciding that we have to have an impasse or a strike or something like that. But typically, I don't think that there is any kind of campaign from any district to try and, I don't know, for lack of a better word, lie to you. I do appreciate that the words were said earlier in support of our superintendent. I haven't been hanging out or watching this stuff for more than about a year and a half, and I'm new to the board. But I do think that Mr. Critchfield is an ethical man and that he is not trying to lie to anyone. And so I hope that the teams can figure it out. And I believe that you will, I don't know, find creative solutions. I just think that we can act like family members and strive to really talk to each other and hope that some solutions are found.
Thank you. Ken?
So no comments about healthcare for me tonight. I just want to recognize what a great job our teachers have done, which is represented over the last few meetings by the student involvement and them getting up and speaking at the podium. That's just a huge, they have to have huge confidence to do that. And I know a lot of them are gone, but I want them to know that I recognize the fact that that's hard to do, and it's appreciated, and without our teachers, they probably would not get up and speak. So thank you to the teachers, and thank you to both of our student board members. The insight they bring and how well-spoken you are is very, very impressive.
Perfect. Shane?
Echo what both Peter and Ken said. We do appreciate the teachers speaking up and wanting to be heard. No one up here, not trying to speak for them, but no one up here, in my opinion, is trying to side with anyone. We want to find a solution. We want to make sure that our teachers are cared for. We make sure our students get the best out of their education, and that we try to provide the best opportunities. I look forward to having the discussion regarding consolidation, and because that does impact our budget, and I think that having a more detailed breakdown following our meeting yesterday of more detail, I think will also help the discussions as far as helping us determine our budget issues and how we can find some solutions. And welcome to our new student board member and the one that's got here for one more year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James?
I first wanted to welcome Claire. I actually had the honor to coach her in 7th grade, 8th grade football. Yeah, she was amazing to see, to watch her grow. Has been an honor, and I appreciate your dedication and commitment to your schoolmates and your campus and your school and everything you're doing. Congratulations, welcome. I also I hope and trust that the district will continue to work hard along with the labor leaders to get us in the right path. At the end of the day, like all of the board members have said, it's for the betterment of the students. Students cannot get educated, cannot receive a quality education without the quality teachers that we have here. So I trust that it will be done, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you.
I was up really late last night after the board meeting. I debated on if or what I was going to say tonight, but I think that there are some things that I have been thinking about. Some of it are just some facts, and some of them are a sprinkle of my opinion because I can't help myself. Some of them might not make me the most popular person in the room, but I'm not sure I'm really winning that contest anyway. So these aren't in any particular order, and I want to reiterate that I don't lay blame on any one person or group in particular. I've just listened to a lot of different perspectives over the past few board meetings on our current situation, and I would like to share my own. I think what's happening right now is a true culmination of events. Some of them predate my time on the board. Some of them even predate my time as an adult. While other things have transpired during my term so far that certainly have not helped matters at all. I think something that's true, that we can look at the numbers all we want, is that other than during the COVID years where money was just thrown around like candy, ACUSD's baseline has historically been not a lot of money. And I think that there's a few reasons for that on top of choices that are made by the district. One is that we live in California. We are one of 7 states out of 50 that still fund schools based on attendance, not enrollment. Therefore, we have to hire and pay teachers and staff based on the unrealistic idea that kids are in school 100% of the time. If they are not in school, the district does not get the allotment of money for your child that day. And we can sit here and talk about, it's not about the money, it's not about the money, right? But if the kids aren't at school, we don't get paid for them, but we still have to pay to educate them. Your kid is sick, too bad, no money towards their education that day. They had an urgent appointment, so sorry. Family emergency, no can do. The legislators at the state level think so highly of our children and our teachers that the funding formula that was intended to set the minimum funding contributions has very sadly also become the ceiling. Prisoners in California, criminals in the state get brand new equipment to learn on, and then we get to go pick up their leftovers. How disgusting. That's not an Amador County thing. That's a state thing. And I get so angry about it because what the hell? We also live in Amador County, which we all are here for one reason or another. We love it here. I've grown up here. My grandfather's 80 years old and graduated from Amador High School. Lived here my whole life almost, with the exception of school. We have some of the lowest effective taxes in the state, which if anyone actually knows me, I'm not a big fan of taxes. But we also know that low taxes aren't really great news for schools. On top of that, our community doesn't seem to be too keen on bonds or paying for much of anything outside of absolute necessity. Again, none of which bodes well for staff or students. Number 3 is that a school is not a profiting business. We don't charge students to come to school here. We don't charge students to ride the bus. We don't charge for meals. We don't charge when a teacher goes above and beyond for a student, which happens regularly. We don't charge for the ice pack or Band-Aid that your kid's inevitably gonna need one time. We rely on funding, and when we get the bare minimum funding, we can't always give out much more than bare minimum, which is super unfortunate. I've heard it said multiple times that people can go work at McDonald's and make more money, and the sad part is that you are correct. But that begs the question, why does fast food have a mandated minimum wage of $20 an hour, but we can't get funding for people that work with our children or first responders? I have my own theories, but I'll spare you that. We also haven't negotiated and agreed upon health and welfare benefits in 2017, at least for one labor union. And I don't know why that is. This is before my time, but that is just something that is in the contract. I know that 2 positions were created and illegally filled when the board did not approve them, but both of those positions were costly to the district. We also had large errors in attendance, as well as a past superintendent that knew we were over the teacher admin ratio and would be fined, but they did not care and said, we'll just pay it. Would it have made a huge difference in the current situation that we're in now? Probably not, but when you don't get more than the minimum, every little bit counts. Lastly, there have been many missteps so far in my time on the board, and certainly prior, but I think that having all labor partners and a superintendent sign MOUs and contracts to switch insurance carriers, the method of insurance, with unprecedented fiscal impacts on the district, and not one person thought that the board should have a vote on that. And now we're at the school board meetings every week getting yelled at, probably takes the cake. The question here isn't what should happen. We all know what should happen. There isn't a person up here, and I'm confident in saying that thinks that our teachers and our staff don't deserve better health care or a raise or better insurance or better retirement contribution. Not one person doesn't think that. I think the real question here actually is, what can realistically happen? What can we give? What can we do? That is the question. That is a question I've asked them. That is a question we are all working on at this point to figure out what is it that we can do. Realistically, without also bankrupting our school district, because that is a real thing too. Reality does exist. The board is now saddled with making drastic and exceptionally difficult decisions to best serve the children of this county and this school district. And that's a big burden to bear. I just want to make that clear for everybody. With that being said, I also want to discuss something that happened this morning, and I debated whether or not I was going to bring this up. And I'm not usually a feelings kind of person, if anybody actually knows me, but I think it's important to remember that the people who sit in these seats up here are also human beings who live in this community with their children. I received a phone call and voicemail from a member of our community this morning while I was in line at Java Drive getting my coffee that I desperately need every day. In this phone call with my kids present in the car, I might add, this woman called me an effing C word, that I'm getting rich and lining my own pockets on the backs of the children of this school district, that I'm an insufferable B word, and that I deserve every bit of hell that I'm going to get. This person also blocked their number, so I couldn't return their phone call, and they didn't leave their name probably because they know that I would most definitely have responded. I think that if you're going to have the audacity to call me or anybody up here, the district office staff as well, they also received some phone calls from this wonderful human being this morning, that you could at least have the stones to say your name or take a response, but they did not. You can think whatever you want about me, but here are some more truths. I have sat up here at every single meeting except when I was literally giving birth for the last 2.5 years, and have owned and stood on every single thing I have voted on or said. In light of everything that has gone on in our country in the last week, I find this highly disturbing. We don't have to agree with each other, or even like each other for that matter. I don't agree with everyone in this room on everything that is said, but I will tell you that I have respect for the people that show up, that voice their concerns with your name on it, not on a blocked number, not on an anonymous post on Facebook, or a fake Facebook profile making comments. If you can't stand behind what you say, then you probably should not say it. And take that to the bank. Thank you. Our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, October 8th, scheduled to be held at the City of Jackson Civic Center. So just a reminder, so I know we're gonna hear, oh my gosh, they changed the meeting, it's a conspiracy theory. It is not. This building is booked for that day. We'll see you on that day at 6:30 p.m. for the meeting. Thank you so much, we're adjourned. We're gonna take a quick restroom break before we continue on to the county meeting.
We're almost there. It's okay. We got 45, 50 minutes. We'll see if Kayla's got to do another. We got to make this another 30 minutes.
I know. I'm gonna call them. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order, guys. All of our board members are here and present. Are there any deletions or corrections to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay. We don't have any presentations or recognitions. We're gonna move on to employee organizations. Do we have Miss Angie Lucas or somebody that's talking for her? No? She's not here. Okay. Okay. And then we have CSEA 827 with Miss Hatton.
Good evening, Board Superintendent, Cabinet, and community members.
Can you put your mic down so we can hear you a little more?
I'm sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I'm going to go off script for a little bit. First of all, I respectfully request that you consider rotating the meetings, the county meeting, the amateur, or the unified meetings, so we're not always here so late, and I realize this is earlier than we thought. And if not, then maybe setting aside a time before the unified district starts that we could, Ms. Angie and I can talk, just so it's not always so late. I do much better in the morning. I'm editing a lot. Everything has already been said. All four presidents are here together because the crisis impacts every single employee. Yeah, I lost my spot. To send out invoices demanding more money from employees after taking their entire paycheck is more than wrong. It's shameful.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to public comments on non-agenda items. I'm just going to read this really quickly. Person wishing to be heard by the board shall first be recognized by the president and then proceed to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on non-agenda items. Board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. Our first speaker tonight will be Greg Wall.
Thank you. Greg Wall, teacher at Amador High School. Just a moment, because I think I have enough time. Just my personal opinion. Limiting public comment to 20 minutes on a meeting of such significance was a tough decision. So just want to throw that out there. All right, before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the continuing effort and dedication exhibited by the business office in regards to the healthcare transition for district employees. Robert, Rachel, and Daisy likely feel they picked up another full-time job trying to understand the shifting sands of who qualifies for what and the potential implications for impactful decisions. So, thank you. Tonight, my goal is to somehow bridge the seemingly impossible task of dealing with the fiscal crisis and then choosing to provide more money for the soaring healthcare costs. On the one hand, the FCMAT report found deficit spending in 24-25, planned for this year, and yet again in 26-27. Clearly, the more than $3 million of money the district doesn't have, yet plans to spend, feels insane. Our legally mandated 3% reserve will go unmet this year and the next. It is hard to imagine a worse finding in a report, and that information was all in one paragraph. My argument is that the healthcare benefits lie outside of the deficit spending fiasco because those welfare benefits budget calculations are yearly and have been forever. Certain costs are locked in, and all of the mandatory costs do not add up to the total district budget. It is the discretionary spending that makes up the rest of the planned expenditures, and then some, obviously. A quick look at the mandatory elements of healthcare for teachers show approximately 213 FTE positions, and each comes with a $10,050 insurance cap. This results in just over $2.1 million. That money isn't in question. The district has offered to increase that total by around $400,000, so for a total of a bit over $2.5 million. What boggles my brain is how, by the district's own numbers, their current offer does not equal that total. This means their final offer is less than the money promised for teacher benefits. This week, the initial reports of how many teachers were opting out and signing up for employee-only +1 and family plans are even more demonstrative of how the total cost of the new proposed amounts fall well below $2.5 million. So I will end the same way I did last night. I plead with you to have the district reprioritize the budget, stop deficit spending, and demand better pay scales for all employees. If you don't mind, I'd like to give you the math behind all that.
Our next speaker is going to be Patricia and Jaya.
Hi again, everyone. So now that I have some time, I do want to highlight Amador's Heart of Gold. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Amador's Heart of Gold is a nonprofit that was recently founded by two local Ione moms. As many of you know, children with cancer. Ashley Costello is a kindergarten teacher at Ione Elementary, and she is Brooks's mom. And Anna Lee is heavily involved in FFA, and she's Jesse's mom. And our mission is to provide financial, emotional, and educational support to families affected by childhood cancer residing in Amador County. Because we don't have many resources, we're trying to bolster support for our local families. So we've kind of hit the ground running. As I've mentioned before, t-shirt I'm wearing today, we wear on Thursdays. I have the flyer back there. You can purchase them through us. You can send us a message on Facebook, on Instagram, if that's easiest to order. We've been having lemonade sales every Sunday this month, and we have 2 more for the remaining Sundays at Perry Earl Park in Ione from 11:30 to 2 p.m. We're having a pie sale. If anyone needs any holiday pies, orders are due on the 30th of September, and pickup will be on October 7th from 3 to 6 p.m. at Evelyn Bishop Hall in Ione. You can also order them. I put the order forms back there, and we're also going to be at the Harvest Fair in Ione on Saturday, the 20th. So flyers for all of these, also general information about our nonprofit are on the table in the back. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also message us through these platforms to place any orders or do any outreach. We plan to coordinate with, I think, Amanda via to have someone go out to each school site to share more about our program and to get connected with families who may unfortunately be facing that as well. So I hope you will go gold with us this September, this month, to show your support for childhood cancer awareness. Thank you.
What's the name again that's on the Facebook page?
It's Amador's Heart of Gold.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You said you meet on Sunday, right? Were you doing lemonade? Was that last week?
Lemonade
Sorry.
is on Sunday.
On Sunday, okay.
What time was that at Earl Park?
Perry Earl Park from 11:30 to 2 p.m.
Okay.
And each Sunday we've designated to be the funds go to a different form of the cancer. Since there are 4 Sundays, there were 4 boys. There's Brooks, Jesse, Logan, and Mateo, and each of their cancers are represented with each 4 Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you say the Facebook group one more time? Sorry.
Amador's Heart of Gold.
Okay, thank you.
With an apostrophe.
Okay, you are the next speaker, so
I figured.
finish out.
All right, so I wanted to speak on board meeting decorum and transparency. So I appreciate the professionalism and gratitude shown by the board members as well as the district office admin staff at these board meetings. However, it is reasonable for teachers, staff, parents, and community members to be frustrated when the district admin staff acts approachable and seemingly transparent at these meetings, but then does an about-face when back in the office and interacting with teachers, staff, parents, and community members without the watchful eye of the board. The legal letter sent to me by Lozano Smith, as I presented at last night's board meeting, made me my seemingly simple email requesting general information into a formal CIPRA, California Public Records Act request, and stated it does not require public agencies to answer questions, explain procedures, create new documents, or compile information in response to a request. But I didn't file a CIPRA request. I simply sent an email to district office staff requesting a rough estimate of the number of employees on each current healthcare plan, and having that made into a bigger deal by the district invoking CIPRA so they can hide behind this rather non-transparent caveat of not being required to even answer basic questions. I wonder, how is the public supposed to trust this district? That they would waste even more money on having expensive lawyers draft letters rather than simply answering basic questions from the public to aid in their attempt to help the board and the district figure out this healthcare and fiscal crisis. I am trying to help by using my very limited time, brain capacity, even understanding of any of this, to help go over numbers and find money to keep our teachers and staff here. I understand being appreciative, but it just seemed like we were falling, over our feet, saying thank you, thank you, thank you last night. And after all of it, kind of, when you guys were thanking them for their transparency, it just doesn't really seem like there truly is any when you're not on your watch. It seems to be all smoke and mirrors, smiling in our faces while stabbing us in the back. I understand that, the gratitude, but after all these constant emergency situations such as maintenance, health, safety, transportation, financial, healthcare, consolidation, staffing, et cetera, and seemingly little action to change it, the overwhelming amount of thank yous was just too much. While they do work, and that work is very appreciated, I truly do not think they are doing enough given the multiple crises we are facing, and certainly not enough to warrant many of their very bloated salaries. The behavior of the district admin staff at these meetings is also not reflected when I hear the allegations of retaliation. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. We only have 5 minutes left. We don't have a huge agenda. We can finish? Okay, we can finish. All right, we're gonna go. Does anybody have any questions or comments on consent?
No.
Okay.
No.
Shane?
No.
I don't either. We would just need a motion.
Make a motion that we pass item 8, the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, and the vote, Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Moving on, we do not have any communications. We do not have any action items. We do not have any discussion items. We're moving on to item 12, which is information only. Current personnel recommendations. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this item?
No.
Ken?
I do not.
Shane?
Nope.
James?
No questions.
I don't have any questions on this item either. We're going to move on to this is just information only. There's no action required. We're on item 13, reports. Report from Mr. Critchfield.
No further report tonight.
Okay. Peter?
No further report.
Ken?
No comments.
Shane?
Nothing to report.
James?
No, nothing to report.
I don't have a long further report, but I did just want to say that everything I said in the district meeting stands for the county meeting as well. And I'll leave it at that. With that, our next meeting is set for Wednesday, October 8th, scheduled at the City of Jackson Civic Center, not here, immediately following the district meeting. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.